There comes a time in every person's life when the whisper becomes a roar. That whisper you've been ignoring each morning, the one that urges you to get up just a little earlier, to start the day with purpose instead of passivity, is not a coincidence. It is the silent call of your future self, trying to wake you before the rest of the world stirs, trying to usher you toward a life that most people will never claim, because most people never master their morning. Mornings are not just a transition from night to day. They are the runway from which your entire life takes off. Each new dawn offers a fresh start, not just metaphorically, but biologically, psychologically, and spiritually. How you treat the first hour of your day determines the tone, the direction, and the energy of everything that follows. And yet, too many people spend that golden hour in reactive mode, checking their phones, hitting snooze, dragging themselves out of bed like sleepwalkers drifting through a life they didn't consciously choose. But let me tell you the truth as plainly as I can. If you want to change your life, you must first change your mornings. You do not need to overhaul your entire world overnight. You simply need to begin where the day begins. The seed of greatness is planted not in dramatic overnight transformations, but in consistent, intentional habits carried out in the stillness of early hours. That is where true change happens, quietly, persistently, and almost invisibly. I have spoken with men and women who've risen from poverty to prosperity, from confusion to clarity, and from despair to dominance, and the one thread tying them all together wasn't luck or genius or even opportunity. It was routine. It was rhythm. It was their morning rituals, carried out like sacred ceremonies, long before the noise of the day invaded their minds. They made their morning a temple, and the results were nothing short of miraculous. When you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, you're saying to the universe, tell me what to think, tell me what to feel, tell me what to worry about. But when you rise with purpose, when you take a few quiet moments for yourself, before anyone else can place demands on your mind, you're declaring, I am the creator of this life. I will not be led by the world. I will lead myself. Understand this deeply. Your current life is a reflection of your current habits, and your current habits are most deeply rooted in your mornings. That's where your thoughts are freshest, your discipline strongest, and your window for transformation wide open. If you spend that hour in chaos, distraction, or laziness, it ripples through every conversation, every decision, and every action you take that day. But if you anchor your mornings in clarity, in intention, and in quiet strength, your entire reality begins to shift. Not just your career, not just your relationships, but the very way you experience time, purpose, and peace. This is not theory. This is principle. It is spiritual law, and it works whether you believe in it or not. But when you do believe, when you commit fully to the practice, the results accelerate and magnify in ways that defy expectation. The beautiful thing is that it doesn't take hours. It doesn't take perfection. All it takes is intention. Begin your morning by claiming it as yours. Even if it's just 10 minutes, make those 10 minutes yours. Not your jobs, not your families, not your phones. Yours. In those minutes, choose silence, choose movement, choose words that uplift, choose thoughts that build, choose actions that align with who you are becoming, not just who you've been. What separates the person you are today from the person you wish to become is not some magical breakthrough, but a series of small, consistent shifts. And the morning is your daily opportunity to shift. Most people wait for change to come from outside. New job, new partner, new year. But the successful man knows that real change begins internally. And it starts the moment he opens his eyes and decides to own the day instead of letting the day own him. Fix your morning and you will fix your life. Not because your mornings are more important than the rest of the day, but because they are the foundation. Try building a house on sand and see how long it lasts. But build it on stone, on discipline, routine, and clarity, and you can weather any storm that comes your way. And believe me, storms will come. But if your habits are strong, you won't just survive them. You'll grow stronger because of them. This moment, right now, is your invitation to rise. Not just out of bed, but out of the limitations you've placed on yourself, out of the patterns that keep you circling the same results year after year. If you are not where you want to be in life, it's time to look not at your luck, but at your mornings. Because every breakthrough you seek begins in the first hour of the day. Let this be the turning point. Let this be the moment you stop waking up like a servant to your schedule and start waking up like the master of your fate. Your life is not an accident. It is a mirror. And when you fix what you do with the first moments of your day, that mirror begins to reflect something new, something better, something unstoppable. Every morning you face a silent battle, and it begins before you even lift your head from the pillow. It is not a battle with anyone else. It is a battle with yourself. And if you do not learn to win that battle, every other part of your day will carry the weight of that loss. That first decision, to rise with purpose or to roll over into delay, sets the tone for everything that follows. It tells your mind whether you are in charge or whether your excuses will run the show once again. It is not about waking up at 5 in the morning just to prove something. It is about waking up when you said you would. It is about keeping the promise you made to yourself. Because when you keep that promise, even when it's hard, you strengthen the most important muscle of all, your integrity. And integrity is what builds momentum. It is the compound interest of success. Each small victory in the morning becomes a deposit in the bank of self-trust. And over time, that account becomes wealth, not just in dollars, but in confidence, consistency, and peace. There is nothing more powerful than a person who believes in their own word. A person who knows that if they say they'll rise, they'll rise. If they say they'll move their body, they will. If they say they'll meditate, read, write, or speak something empowering into the morning air, they follow through. And that kind of self-trust is what transforms goals into realities. You don't build a life by making one grand choice. You build a life by making thousands of tiny, silent, internal decisions and making them count. You see, most people wait until they feel like doing something before they act. And that is why they stay stuck. But the man who shapes his destiny understands something deeper. He acts not because he feels like it, but because it's who he is becoming. He does not wait to feel motivated. He becomes motivation in motion. And that is why he wins, because he fights and wins the first battle before the world even wakes up. And with that victory, he carries a quiet power that others feel but cannot quite name. Let's be honest, every excuse sounds valid when you're lying in bed. You're tired, it's cold, you deserve a break. But excuses are only as strong as the attention you give them. The moment you rise, anyway, they lose their grip. And every day you do this, you make it easier the next day. You're building a path for your future self to walk across, a path of discipline, forged in the early hours while the rest of the world still sleeps. And once you begin to win that first battle, a strange thing happens. Your mind starts to believe you. The fog lifts, the doubt weakens, the momentum builds. Because you're not just saying you want to change, you're proving it in motion. And motion, my friend, is sacred. It's the bridge between your current reality and your highest potential. No matter how far away that future feels, motion shortens the distance. It's not about perfection. You will slip. You will have days when the battle is harder, but even in those moments, if you rise and do one small thing with intention, you're still winning. Because you're teaching yourself that you are not a slave to circumstance. You are a creator. You can shape your state no matter how you feel, and that is the kind of power that transforms not just mornings, but marriages, businesses, mindsets, and nations. If you don't feel powerful right now, it's not because you lack it. It's because you haven't activated it. And power is always activated in the small choices. The choice to drink water instead of scroll. The choice to breathe deeply instead of rush. The choice to read something that uplifts instead of checking emails that distract. These are not minor details. They are the blueprint of your future. Never underestimate the weight of a small decision made with discipline. The universe watches. your subconscious watches, and most importantly, your future self watches. Every decision you make is a message to that future self. Are you preparing the way, or are you leaving a trail of delay and confusion that he or she will have to clean up later? Fix your mornings, and you relieve your future from that burden. It's not enough to know that mornings matter. You must feel it. You must internalize it until you cannot imagine beginning your day in any other way, until the thought of skipping your routine feels like skipping oxygen. You see, it's not just a routine. It is a ritual, a sacred act of self-respect. When you rise with purpose, you are not just taking care of the day. You are honoring the temple of your life, brick by brick, breath by breath. So let the first battle be sacred. Let it be the place where you earn your strength, your focus, and your peace. The morning is not just about productivity. It's about alignment. When you win that first battle, you don't just accomplish more, you become more centered, more grounded, more intentional, and from that place, life begins to mirror your inner strength. You may think that the key to a successful morning lies in doing more tasks, more hustle, more speed. But let me reveal something most people never realize until it's too late. Your power in the morning does not come from how much you do. It comes from how still you can be before you begin to act. That stillness, that space between waking and moving, is where your spirit speaks the loudest. And if you drown it out with noise, you miss the most important part of your day. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and builders of history were not frantic in the morning. They were calm. They were deliberate. They carved out space to be still, to breathe, to reflect. And in that stillness, they found clarity. In that quiet, they found direction. In that pause, they found power. Because when you begin your day rooted in stillness, every action that follows is stronger. Every choice you make carries more weight. Every thought you allow into your mind must pass through the filter of your own presence. Before the world gets a hold of you, you must get a hold of yourself. And the way you do that is simple, but not easy. Sit still. Breathe. Listen. Ask yourself, what do I want this day to feel like? Not just what you want to accomplish, but how you want to be while you accomplish it. The doing will come, but being, that's where your power lies. Being focused, being patient, being clear, and that kind of being only comes when you take a moment to meet yourself at the start of the day. There is no strength in chaos. There is no wisdom in rushing. There is no power in reacting. The moment you roll out of bed and into the world without checking in with your soul, you hand over your power. You become a servant to the energy around you instead of the master of your own state. But when you sit even for 5 minutes and breathe deeply and listen inwardly, you reclaim that throne. You decide the energy. You shape the tone. You are not waiting for the day to give you peace. You're bringing peace to the day. After stillness, the next sacred act is intention. Not blind motion, not random activity, but focused, meaningful steps toward the life you are creating. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that my future self will thank me for? Not 10 things, not everything, just one thing. The magic is not in doing everything perfectly, it's in doing one thing deeply, consistently, and with full attention. That one thing builds momentum. That one thing proves to your brain, to your body, and to your destiny that you mean what you say. Most people wander through their mornings like sleepwalkers. Their feet are moving, but their mind is elsewhere. They drink coffee, they brush their teeth, they get dressed, but they are not there. They are reacting to the past or worrying about the future. And in that disconnection, their energy leaks out like a slow drip they never notice, until they're exhausted by noon and wondering why. But when you act with intention, when every step is done on purpose, you become like a vessel with no cracks. Your energy builds, your confidence grows, your clarity sharpens. Let me tell you this truth. Your life will not be transformed by force, but by flow. And flow comes when you begin your day aligned with your purpose, your peace, and your power. That alignment does not come from checking your notifications. It does not come from rushing to check off a list of obligations. It comes from choosing to live the first part of your day like it matters, because it does. It sets the course for the hours that follow. And when your morning is intentional, your whole life becomes intentional. Do not underestimate the power of this moment, the moment you wake up and choose how you will live the next few hours. Because those hours are not just time, they are clay, and your habits are the hands that shape that clay into a masterpiece or a mess. When you begin with stillness, followed by intention, followed by focused action, you begin to create days that feel different. You begin to rise above the noise, the chaos, the mediocrity. You begin to live like you've already arrived at the life you're building. And here's what no one tells you. Once you build a powerful morning routine, the world begins to respond to you differently. People feel your clarity. They sense your energy. Opportunities begin to align, not because of luck, but because your frequency is no longer scattered. You are focused. You are grounded. You are walking through the world like someone who knows where they're going, and life respects that. So begin with stillness, build with intention, and remember, the goal is not to get more done. The goal is to become more of who you were born to be. The habits you choose in the morning are not just tools, they are mirrors. They reflect who you believe yourself to be, and the moment you shift those habits is the moment your identity begins to evolve, and from identity flows destiny. There is something sacred about the moment your body begins to move with purpose. In that simple act, you awaken more than muscles. You awaken energy, discipline, and the untapped potential lying dormant in your cells. Most people think movement is just for the body, but movement is also for the mind. When you stretch, when you walk, when you breathe deeply as you move, you send a signal to your entire being that you are alive, alert, and ready to carry the weight of your destiny. You cannot sleepwalk your way into greatness. You must rise and move, not just to burn calories, not just to look better in the mirror, but because movement is how you remind your body that you are in control, that you are not waiting to be rescued by luck or motivation. You are already in motion. You are already showing up for yourself before anyone else does. And that creates a powerful psychological shift. You stop being passive. You become the initiator, the generator, the source of momentum. When you begin your day with intentional movement, even if it's just a short walk, a few minutes of stretching, or some breath-like motion, you're not just moving your limbs, you're stirring your spirit. You're circulating energy that would otherwise remain stagnant. And stagnant energy becomes stagnant thinking, which leads to a stagnant life. But the man or woman who moves early in the day activates their flow. They shake off heaviness, they release doubt, and they make space for clarity to enter. I have seen people change their entire emotional state, not in months, not in weeks, but in minutes, just by changing how they move in the morning. Because how you move is how you live. Sluggish movement creates sluggish energy, but focused, intentional movement invites strength, courage, and clarity. And when you train your body, you train your will. That is why so many successful individuals have some form of physical discipline early in the day. It is not about fitness, it is about sharpening the sword of the self. Your body is not a machine to be ignored until it breaks down. It is the vessel through which your purpose flows. Treat it with respect. Awaken it gently but deliberately. Move it in ways that remind you of your own strength. When you move in the morning, you set a tone of capability, and that tone echoes into your decisions, your confidence, and your presence. You begin to carry yourself differently. You become someone who is not waiting to feel ready. You are creating readiness with every breath, every stretch, every step. Do not underestimate the power of simple movement. You do not need to train like an athlete. You do not need to run marathons. You simply need to move with intention. A short walk in the fresh air, a few rounds of deep, grounded breathing while you raise your arms to the sky, a few moments to connect your breath to your body, to reclaim yourself before the noise of the day begins. These small rituals, repeated daily, become powerful acts of transformation. The greatest mistake people make is thinking they need motivation to begin, but what they really need is movement. Motivation is not the fire, it is the smoke. The fire is action. The fire is choice. The fire is waking up and saying, even if I don't feel like it, I will still move, I will still rise. And that fire, once lit, begins to fuel everything else. Your focus sharpens, your creativity returns, your self-belief begins to rise. Not because of some external miracle, but because you moved, because you honored the temple of your being. There is wisdom in the body that the mind has forgotten. When you move, you reconnect with that wisdom. You feel where tension lives. You discover where energy is blocked. And as you release that, you make space, not just for strength, but for insight, for direction, for peace. A still mind often emerges from a body that has been honored and awakened. That is why movement is not separate from your spiritual or intellectual journey. It is part of it. It is the bridge between your inner world and the outer one. If you want to change how your life feels, begin by changing how your body moves. You don't need hours, you don't need equipment, you just need willingness. The willingness to breathe deeply, to move with purpose, to honor yourself before the day places its demands on you, and in that movement you build momentum, not just for the body, but for your goals, your clarity, your peace of mind. So move, not for appearance, not for punishment, but for power. Move because your future depends on the strength you build today. Move because every step is a reminder that you are not stuck. You are not stagnant. You are in motion, and motion is how transformation begins. After you have stilled your mind and moved your body, the next sacred act of the morning is nourishment. Not just food for the stomach, but fuel for the soul. You must understand that how you feed yourself in the first hour of the day is not merely about calories or nutrients. It is a message to your subconscious mind. That message says, I care about this body. I honor this life. I choose to nourish instead of neglect. That message carries far more weight than most people realize. Many people begin their day by pouring empty substances into a vessel meant for greatness. They reach for sugar-laced distractions, caffeine-fueled spikes, and processed comfort instead of giving their bodies what they truly need. And what's worse, they do it without presence, without gratitude, without a moment of pause to recognize the sacredness of this act. But the man who chooses nourishment with intention begins to feel differently, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Because nourishment is an act of love, and love fuels all growth. To live at your highest level, you must fuel yourself at your highest level. That means choosing foods that energize, not sedate. That means choosing meals that create clarity, not fog. That means starting your day with hydration, with whole ingredients, with care. And when you do, you are no longer simply surviving the day, you are setting yourself up to thrive. The food you choose becomes the foundation of your energy, your focus, and your performance. But beyond the physical, there is another layer to nourishment, and that is the nourishment of the mind. What are you feeding your thoughts in the morning? What ideas are you digesting before you face the world? Because your mind, like your body, becomes what it consumes. If you begin the day by feeding it negativity, anxiety, or trivial distraction, do not be surprised when you feel depleted by mid-morning. But if you feed it something uplifting, whether through affirmations, a page from a powerful book, a few lines of wisdom spoken aloud, you rise with strength. You must choose your morning inputs as carefully as you choose your food, because they shape your internal chemistry just the same. If you begin with gratitude, with vision, with intentional thought, your emotional state becomes a place of power. But if you allow in the chaos of the world too soon, you surrender your peace before the day has even started. Your mind is a garden, and the seeds you plant in the morning will bloom throughout the day. Plant carefully, water generously, and just as the body and mind need fuel, so does the spirit. That spirit, which is often buried beneath the noise of routine and responsibility, longs to be acknowledged. And you nourish it not with tasks or trophies, but with presence. with silence, with awe. Take a moment every morning to pause and recognize the miracle that is life itself. To look at the sky, to feel the breath in your lungs, to place your hand on your chest and remember you are alive. You are here. You have another chance. This awareness, this reverence, is the deepest form of nourishment. It fills you in ways no food or affirmation ever could. It reminds you that beneath the goals and the grind, there is something more, something sacred. And when you begin your day from that place of gratitude, presence, and reverence, every challenge you face becomes smaller. Because you are no longer reacting to life, you are communing with it. You are alive. And alignment is the highest form of strength. Do not rush this part of the morning. Even if you only have minutes, let those minutes be filled with intention. Drink your water slowly. Prepare your food with care. Speak your words with presence. And whatever you feed yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, ask one question: is this helping me become who I am meant to be? If the answer is no, choose differently, because each choice is a thread in the fabric of your future. And the more intentional your choices, the more powerful the life you will weave. Fix your nourishment and you will fix your energy. Fix your energy and you will fix your attention. Fix your attention and you will fix your results. It all begins with what you feed, your body, your mind, and your spirit. You cannot create a life of power if you begin each day from a place of depletion. Fill your cup so you can pour into the world from overflow, not emptiness. This is the secret the world forgets. True power begins with how you treat yourself when no one is watching, when the day is young, when the choices are yours and yours alone. Choose nourishment, choose presence, choose to begin the day in alignment, and in doing so, you will find that everything else begins to fall into place. Once your body is moved, your spirit stilled, and your mind nourished, there comes a point in the morning that separates those who drift from those who dominate. That moment is when you decide whether to let the day happen to you or whether to happen to the day. And that power comes from mental rehearsal, a quiet, focused act of creation that transforms your thoughts into a map, your intentions into architecture, and your imagination into a tool for mastery. Mental rehearsal is not wishful thinking. It is structured clarity. It is the art of seeing the day before it unfolds and stepping into it with the confidence of a creator, not the confusion of a drifter. Athletes use it. Leaders rely on it. Visionaries depend on it. They don't leave their day to chance. They walk through it in their mind first, quietly, clearly, deliberately, and then when it arrives, they meet it like an old friend, not a stranger. In the stillness of morning, take a few moments to close your eyes and see. See yourself walking through the day with power. Visualize your meetings going smoothly. Picture yourself responding to stress with calm. Imagine yourself speaking with confidence, making strong decisions, honoring your time and moving with the grace of someone who already knows they are enough. This is not delusion. It is preparation. It is programming your mind for what you want instead of waiting to react to what you fear. When you rehearse your day with intention, you begin to embody the future. You bring the energy of success into the present moment. Your subconscious begins to shift. Your nervous system begins to relax because you've already been there in your mind. And that mental blueprint influences how you speak, how you walk, how you think. It creates congruence. It reduces friction. You are no longer stumbling into the day hoping to figure it out. You are moving into it like someone who has already walked the path. This practice doesn't take long, just a few minutes. But those minutes can determine the difference between a scattered day and a masterful one, between reacting and creating, between doubt and certainty. Because in those few moments, you're not only imagining outcomes, you're becoming the version of yourself who creates them. And that identity, the one you step into mentally, begins to take root physically. Your choices shift, your posture shifts, your presence shifts, because you are living from the inside out. Mental rehearsal is also the space where problems are solved before they even arrive. You anticipate challenges and you rehearse your response not in fear, but in power. You say to yourself, if this obstacle arises, I will remain grounded. I will breathe. I will act from wisdom, not reactivity. And when the challenge does come, you're no longer caught off guard. You respond like someone who expected it, not in dread, but in readiness. Let me remind you of something essential. You are the author of your internal world. The thoughts you think in the morning are the ink with which you write the rest of your day. If you fill your mind with clutter, with worry, with doubt, your story becomes chaotic. But if you fill your mind with order, with vision, with strength, your day becomes a masterpiece in motion, and it begins not with action, but with imagination. Do not dismiss the power of the mind to shape reality. Your beliefs become behaviors. Your behaviors become results, and your results reinforce your beliefs. But you can interrupt that cycle at any time by rehearsing a new script, a better script, one where you are not surviving the day, but thriving within it, one where you are not at the mercy of events, but the master of your experience. That shift begins with a few quiet minutes of seeing clearly, breathing deeply, and choosing who you will be before the world tries to tell you. Most people wake up and wait. They wait to be told what the day will bring. They wait for something external to guide them. But those who change their lives wake up and decide. They decide the energy they will bring. They decide the version of themselves who will show up. They decide the tone, the focus, and the intention, and they carry that decision like armor through every room they enter. Fix your mornings, and your identity follows. Fix your identity, and the world reflects it back. Begin with the mind. Visualize, rehearse, embody. Do not merely hope that today will be better. See it as better, and then live into that vision one moment at a time with the certainty of someone who has already arrived. Long before the world speaks to you, your inner voice is already speaking. Before a single task begins, before your feet hit the ground, there is a whisper, a quiet conversation happening inside your own mind. And the content of that conversation determines more than your mood, it determines your direction. You may not always hear it clearly, but it's there, forming the foundation of your self-perception, shaping your energy, and coloring the way you interpret everything that happens to you. The most successful, grounded, and powerful people on this planet did not simply stumble into confidence. They cultivated it, not through loud speeches or grand gestures, but through the silent language of their inner voice. They learned to speak to themselves as an ally, not an enemy, as a leader, not a follower. And that inner conversation, especially in the morning, became the internal script that guided them toward success, resilience, and clarity. When you wake up in the morning, what are the first things you say to yourself? Are your thoughts rushed, negative, defeated? Or do you take that sacred opportunity to breathe and affirm the truth of who you are becoming? The voice you choose to amplify in those first few minutes becomes the background music of your entire day. And you have the power to change the soundtrack. Too many people begin their day speaking to themselves in the language of limitation. I'm tired. I'm behind. I'll never catch up. And they wonder why their energy is low, why their choices reflect hesitation, why life feels heavy before it even begins. But the individual who rewires their morning language is the individual who rewires their life. I am here. I am ready. I am choosing progress, not perfection. These are not just affirmations. They are activations. You are not just repeating positive words. You are building mental scaffolding. You are laying bricks for a stronger identity, one that doesn't crumble at the first sign of resistance. And every time you speak with strength and belief, even when you don't yet feel it, you are planting seeds of transformation. Seeds that, when watered daily, bloom into unshakable character. The voice inside you is the narrator of your experience. And just like any narrator, it can tell a story of defeat or a story of victory. It can magnify your flaws or your growth. It can focus on the obstacle or the opportunity. You must train this voice not just to be positive, but to be truthful. Not everything is perfect, but not everything is broken either. You are on a journey. You are rising. You are learning. You are refining your discipline, your patience, your purpose. And the morning is your daily check-in with that truth. Make this a practice. Stand in front of the mirror, not just to see your reflection, but to speak directly to the person you're becoming. Look yourself in the eyes and remind yourself that you are not your past. You are not your failures. You are not your fears. You are a living, breathing force of growth. And every morning is another chance to become more aligned with your highest self. Speak to yourself as you would to a loved one, firm but kind, encouraging, not coddling, focused, not frantic. Your words shape your state, and your state shapes your actions. So before the day pulls you into its demands, pull yourself into a higher mindset, not through force, but through language. Speak what you seek until you see what you've spoken, and not once, but daily. Over time, the neural pathways in your brain begin to change. The patterns of thought begin to shift. The story you tell yourself begins to match the life you live, and it all begins with that morning conversation. You cannot rise to greatness while dragging a voice that tears you down. You cannot lead others if you're lost within yourself. Begin by mastering your own dialogue. Tune it, train it, direct it. Speak as the version of yourself you are growing into, not the one the world told you to be, not the one fear wrote into your script, but the one that your soul knows you are here to become. Fix your inner voice, and your entire perception of life will shift. And when your perception shifts, your choices follow. Your energy sharpens, your relationships deepen, because people don't just respond to what you say, they respond to the energy behind your words. And that energy is born in your thought. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up. Wake up and speak. Speak to yourself with the clarity of a leader, the compassion of a friend, and the determination of a champion. And watch how life begins to respond in kind. In a world that demands urgency, the person who begins the day with stillness holds an invisible advantage. Not because they have more time, but because they use their time differently. Before the phone rings, before the calendar fills, before the requests and problems begin to arrive, you must claim a sacred pause. A small pocket of time where you do not serve anyone else but your own spirit. This is not selfishness, it is strategy, because no one can pour from an empty cup, and the morning is when you refill your cup. A sacred pause is where you remember who you are. It is where you realign your attention before the world pulls it in 1,000 directions. Even 5 minutes of silence, prayer, journaling, or contemplation can do what hours of unfocused effort cannot. It recenters you. It grounds you. It separates your reaction from your intention. In that small, quiet space, you remember that you are not here to be a slave to your circumstances. You are here to be a steward of your energy. This pause is not just a luxury, it is a discipline, a practice of saying to life, I choose to lead. I choose to begin from presence. Most people skip this. They rush into their day like a soldier sent into battle without armor, without a plan, without rest, and then they wonder why their stress rises, why their joy slips away, why they feel scattered before noon. It is because they forgot the pause. They forgot that silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. The sacred pause looks different for each person. For some, it is breath work. For others, it is gratitude. For many, it is a blank journal page, waiting for reflections, intentions, or quiet confessions. Whatever form it takes, the purpose remains the same, to clear the clutter, to return to your center, and to reclaim your day before the world steals it. Even a single question can be powerful. What matters most today? When asked sincerely, that question can prevent hours of meaningless noise. We live in a distracted world. Information bombards us, alerts, opinions, problems. They come at us with speed and volume. But in the sacred pause, you step outside that current. You become the observer. You reconnect with your values. You remember your vision. And when you move forward again, it's no longer from haste, it's from clarity. And clarity is what transforms effort into effectiveness. Let me be clear. This pause is not about escaping your responsibilities. It is about equipping yourself to carry them well. It is about entering your obligations from a place of intention, not reactivity. When you serve from overflow, you serve with joy. When you move from alignment, your impact multiplies. But when you skip this step, when you abandon the morning to chaos, you dilute your own potential. And the price is not always visible, but it is always there. This is your reminder to slow down just long enough to feel, to think, to listen, to breathe. Your life does not need more noise, it needs more depth. And depth is only found when you stop skimming the surface of your own experience. The sacred pause is where you ask the questions that matter. Who am I becoming? What am I building? What am I avoiding? What am I avoiding? These are not questions to fear. They are doorways to a deeper life. And let me tell you something few people admit. The most profound transformations don't happen in motion. They happen in stillness. Not in doing more, but in feeling more. Not in pushing harder, but in listening closer. In the quiet, you hear your intuition again. You hear the soft wisdom that gets drowned out by noise. You hear your soul saying, "This is the way." And once you hear that, the rest of the day becomes simpler, not because life is easy, but because you are no longer lost. Fiction your mornings by inserting a pause, not a performance, not a task, just a pause, a breath, a return. If you do this consistently, you'll find that your stress lowers, your clarity sharpens, and your power deepens. You will find yourself more present in conversations, more thoughtful in decisions, more resilient in challenges. Because you are no longer operating from depletion. You are moving from presence, so do not rush. The day will come fast enough. Begin from stillness. Begin with reverence. Begin by returning to yourself. Before you offer yourself to the world, you can have all the right intentions, but if your environment is pulling you into distraction, you will struggle to rise. The space in which you begin your day is not just a backdrop, it is a partner in your performance. Your surroundings either support your clarity or sabotage it. They either elevate your morning or dilute it. And so, one of the greatest secrets to fixing your mornings lies not in adding more to your routine, but in subtracting the unnecessary. It lies in simplicity. It lies in order. A cluttered space is a reflection of a cluttered mind, and the first step to gaining control of your mornings is to reclaim your environment. When your space is clean, your thoughts are clearer. When the objects around you have purpose, your actions have focus. You do not need luxury. You do not need perfection. You simply need intention. Let every item, every surface, every corner reflect the peace and power you want to bring into the day. Create a space that makes rising easy. Lay out your clothes the night before. Place your journal or your book where you'll see it first. Put your phone away from your bed so your first act is not scrolling, but breathing. Light a candle, open a window, pour a glass of water and leave it by your bedside. These are not small habits, they are sacred cues. They signal to your mind, I value this time. I am preparing for a life that is aligned, not chaos. Simplicity creates strength. When you reduce friction, you increase flow. You stop wasting energy on unnecessary decisions. You stop stepping over distractions. You stop negotiating with clutter. And you begin each day with a sense of quiet control. That control builds momentum. It allows you to focus on what matters instead of being pulled into things that don't. Most people wake up into confusion, but you can wake up into clarity if you design your space to support it. Order is not about rigidity. It is about readiness. It is about making it easy to do the right thing. When you remove the chaos, you make room for calm. And from calm, you make better choices. Better choices lead to better habits. Better habits create better days. And a series of better days becomes a better life. Think of your environment as a silent coach. It's always speaking. It either encourages your goals or distracts from them, and you get to decide which voice it uses. You don't need to live in a mansion to create peace. You need only to be deliberate, to choose what stays and what goes, to choose what you see when you wake up, because the first few visual cues of the day shape your emotional state more than you think. Set your space like you would set the stage before a great performance, because that's what your morning is, a performance of your highest self. You are not just waking up. You are stepping into a life you're building brick by brick. And every item you remove, every surface you clear, every moment of preparation you invest brings you closer to becoming someone who does not just dream, but delivers. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner world. If you want more peace, bring peace to your space. If you want more focus, reduce the noise in your surroundings. If you want more clarity, make room for it to arrive. The morning is a reflection of what you've prepared the night before. And if you're serious about changing your life, you'll stop treating preparation as optional and start seeing it as essential. So tonight, when the day ends, prepare for tomorrow. Clean the space, set the tone, remove the friction. Let your environment become an ally, not an anchor. Fix your surroundings, and you'll begin to see your habits align almost effortlessly. You'll feel it the moment you wake, not in big dramatic ways, but in small, steady shifts that accumulate. And that is how real transformation works, not through chaos, but through quiet, committed order. You've now seen how powerful your mornings can become, how stillness, movement, clarity, nourishment, and intention can shape the entire course of your day. But the greatest secret of all is not found in one perfect morning. It is found in your ability to return to these habits again and again until they become a part of who you are. Not something you do occasionally, but something you live consistently. Because it is not intensity that changes your life, it is consistency. Too many people wait for the right time to begin. They wait for the energy, for the motivation, for the perfect routine to reveal itself. But those who succeed do not wait, they begin, even when it feels small. They begin again, even when they miss a day. They rise, not because it's easy, but because they've made a decision. And every morning becomes an opportunity to keep that decision alive. This is where transformation happens. Not in massive, life-altering moments, but in quiet, steady ones. It happens when you choose to wake up and breathe instead of scroll. When you choose movement instead of stagnation. When you speak to yourself with purpose instead of panic. When you rehearse the day instead of running from it. It happens when you show up for yourself, imperfectly but faithfully. You must understand, habits are not built for the days you feel great. They are built to carry you through the days you don't. And your morning routine is not meant to impress anyone. It is meant to anchor you. In a world that shifts constantly, you need a place of stillness and power that belongs only to you. A place that reminds you every single day that you are not lost, not helpless, not waiting. You are building. There will be mornings when the bed feels heavier than the weight of your dreams, when the voice of doubt is louder than the whisper of your purpose. On those days, you must remember this. Every time you rise when you could have stayed down, you earn a piece of your future. Every time you choose discipline over delay, you change your identity, and that identity becomes the engine behind everything you do. If you only remember one thing, let it be this: your morning is your mirror. If you want to change what you see in your life, start by changing how you begin your day. Start by winning the first hour. Start by becoming the person who follows through, who breathes deeply, who moves, who nourishes, who listens, who speaks life. Because the person who consistently rises in the morning with intention becomes someone the world cannot ignore. Let others sleep through their potential. Let others wait for permission, but not you. You are not here to be average. You are not here to survive the week. You are here to lead, to grow, to expand. And the first step toward that kind of life begins every single morning when the alarm sounds and you rise, not just from sleep, but from old patterns, from limitation, from comfort. You rise into the next version of yourself. So fix your morning habits, not for a trend, not for a challenge, not for a temporary high, but for a permanent shift. Fix your mornings so they can fix your life. quietly, consistently, powerfully. The world may never see what happens in those early hours, but you will, and your future will reflect it. Every sunrise is a chance to begin again. Begin with presence. Begin with purpose. Begin with belief, and watch your whole life shift.